Got another night, can't sleep. Just on here. I just want to know everybody's opinion about this whole entire situation that's going on in the world right now. Okay, so did Trump lie? Now there was a statement that Donald Trump did make saying that essentially Israel is going to be on its own and that we're not going to get involved with the Israel and uh, the Israel conflict, right? I personally don't believe it because he said that earlier. Now the big wonderful bill has passed, and with the big wonderful bill, young people, I say young people 18 to 26, mainly men, can be automatically drafted. And there's an old quote that said that wars are fought because of stubborn, greedy old men that don't like change, and the ones that suffer are the young. And it sucks. It sucks that we can potentially go into a war that literally has nothing to do with us. If you was to tell me why we are supporting Israel when it comes to against Palestine or Iran, I couldn't tell you why. Iran, I truly do believe, has a right to defend itself, and whatever conflict those two have should be just between those two, and leave Americans out of it. You already get all of our money. Why do you deserve our lives? And I didn't realize up until recently that Netanyahu, I could be mispronouncing his name, has been in office for what, almost 30 years at this point, if I remember correctly. I mean, that man is a master manipulator, and somehow he always seems to keep power and doesn't make any sense. The man is wanted all over the world, but somehow, some way, he still has American supporters. Or I don't even say American supporters, because your average American does not want to be involved with their stuff, you know. And that's the only allied country that we have that we actively send money to and involve ourselves in our wars and make them priority above everything else. Your average American are tired, hungry, and bored. Uh, we just want, essentially, we just want to be left alone. I mean, the majority of Americans here just want to, we just want to be free. You know, we call ourselves a land of free, but we're not the land of free anymore. We are in so much debt and going through so much hardship, and every single dime that could potentially help us in any way, shape, or form is going to fight wars that has nothing to do with us. And let's see. Hi Bree Forever, hi Raven, hi Zane Boy, and hi Fortnite Guy. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate it. But you know, it's just interesting because when I see the videos of Israel, right, before they got attacked, it looked really gorgeous there. And I'm like, wow, we're sending billions and billions of dollars to a country that does better than America. And I'm just like, why? And you know, when you look at the politicians and all of them who has been paid off or had donations, I gotta say donations, allegedly donations for APAC, and every single one of them blindly supports Israel. And you know what's interesting is every single one of those people that supported Israel would not in any way, shape, or form, or will not in any way, shape, or form, have their kids involved in any potential war we get into. But you know what? It is what it is, though. Um, Strays is pretty good. Hope you're doing well too. Got the trolls out already. I don't understand. I'm sitting here talking about putting American first, putting Americans first. And yet somehow I get a racist troll. That's kind of funny. I guess you know the thing I always found interesting too is that they don't want us to be informed or look into anything about the conflicts that's going on. They just want us to go up our lives for again just rich people that will never actually serve or work this country. A lot of people that are in power, a lot of people that have been in these offices for well over 10 years believe that we serve them and not the other way around. You know, all these bills and laws that get snuck in and passed, it really shouldn't be this way. As far as what my stream is about, I'm just really talking about is the Trump lie. Did Trump lie when he said we're not going to get involved with the Israel-Iran conflict? I don't think, or war at this point. And if I'm being honest with you, I think he did lie. I'm more than sure that he lied. And especially since the quote unquote big beautiful bill, which that is the most sorriest name ever, since the big beautiful bill has passed, and now that 18 and 26-year-olds are automatically going to be drafted, it's just a matter of time. And nobody's going to realize how bad it is until your sons, your nephews, your grandchildren all get drafted into some straight up BS that we don't need to be involved in. You know, I've always been curious. I don't know. Um, Numbeer, Numbeers. I don't know. I've always been curious why Israel has such a stronghold on the United States. Because we don't owe Israel anything, if you really think about it. I can understand them having a stronghold on Germany, right? I can understand them having a stronghold on Russia because before Germany, supposedly they were oppressed in Russia, but they were never oppressed by Americans or on American soil. But somehow, every our economy is meant to make their country better, even though their country is not even that old. I just don't get this. It's so frustrating. I'm not really too worried about being drafted, but you know, I do have a kid that's about to be a adult soon that could be drafted. And I think about stuff like that. I'm just like, damn, just straight down. But I don't know, man. I don't know. These countries have not made any direct attacks or threats towards America right now. Now, do I think they're going to? Yeah, yeah. Fear lyric, I don't know what that means. Um, I really don't. Well, okay. I personally think we shouldn't have a draft because all the Trump supporters who blindly supported him, I would think there'll be enough of them to volunteer to go into any conflict that Trump deems because they want Trump to be the president for forever. You know, and you know, Donald Trump is what 80 years old now, which is something even more concerning. I don't think anybody above retirement age should be running our country because anybody who's above retirement age is going to have very old views that's going to keep and hold our country back. I, if our retirement age is 60, then nobody, we should not have a president above the age of 60. That's just my opinion. When you see Trump out there talking, he's losing his faculties of his mind. Same thing with Joe Biden, too. I didn't agree with him being president. He was too old, in my opinion. It doesn't make any sense. Just like even though I was a fan of Bernie Sanders, I wouldn't want him to be president because, again, he's just too old. We got to get away from these older people that has the deep rooted corruption in our system that have no incentive to see the country or system to change. Do you believe if we don't fight the terrorists, there will be fighting them here? Honestly, no, I don't. I honestly don't. We have too much going on in our own country. We have conflicts going on in LA and the quote unquote immigration, migration stuff that's going on here, riots there. We have racist groups. We have all kinds of issues that we can fight and take care of in our own country that it really and truly would be considered terroristic groups in our own country. We don't got to go looking for it anywhere else. Um, and truthfully, whenever we get involved in those conflicts, it's never really just because we have some morality about us as Americans. Because I do love being an American. Don't get me wrong, but at the exact same time, we are very flawed right now. We have no business in sticking our noses in anybody else's conflicts. These countries need to figure out for themselves, because when America was great is when we were thinking and fighting for ourselves. And yes, even in those times, we were still backwards. So I can talk about the whole entire us going to war, us as me as I'm saying as a Black American going to war and still coming back and being segregated and not getting the same benefits as the white soldiers. But whenever we had the Civil War or the War of 1812 or um, the Revolutionary War, those are the things that helped build the foundations of America to where we got to a place to where we can see the potential of the greatness of America. The only reason terrorists attack us the majority of the time is because of American greed. If you think about it, this whole entire war on terror started on George Bush, right? George W. Bush, excuse me. And there was the rumor of weapons of mass destruction that they had. They didn't have weapons of mass destruction. That's very common knowledge now. They knew about the terror attack of 9/11 before it even happened, but they didn't do anything to prevent it. Then there's the issue of right before the terror attack happened, there was an announcement that we lost over $4 trillion worth of money. So it comes into a thing is that we do a lot of misdirection, but it's not anything that really serves us. Let's see. Welcome everyone, please like and share, subscribe, don't forget. Thank you, I am. I appreciate you. Proving that they did, just not nuclear. Okay, and let's be honest with you. What well-developed country doesn't have a weapon of mass destruction? If you really think about it, um, having a nuclear deterrent is trying to keep yourself even balanced across the world playing field, right? So the main reason, well, let me say this: we have countries like France, they will have nothing without Africa, right? That's why there's a conflict brewing there, because Africa is trying to kick out France, and France is like, no, we need the resources, etc., etc. But why wouldn't another country attack France? Because they have nuclear weapons. Why don't people attack Europe? Because of nuclear weapons, Russia, China, etc., etc. It's just a deterrent to hold peace. And if you want to get kind of a little nerdy with it, think of it like Naruto, right? You want to get anime nerdy with it. Think of it like Naruto. You know, each of the major shinobi nations had tail beasts as a deterrent to maintain peace, right? That was the goal. But it didn't work out that way because of greed and corruption and fear and all this other kind of stuff. So no, I don't care that another country have weapons of mass destruction, because most of the time, most countries, at least before, at least before, um, you really didn't hear too many countries really having issues with America, especially in this new age. Now, before, um, I would say back in the like the 2010s, it was a lot easier for like the mainstream media to manipulate the messages out there. They can hide and omit details. They can suppress stories, all this other kind of stuff, and we just have that narrow view of what that particular country is like. Fast forward to today, we can actually see behind the scenes in the people. We can see what the genocide looks like firsthand. It's just not like a news story. Oh, there was, a thousand people that lost their lives and so many injured here. Now you can pull up your app on your phone, look at Twitter and TikTok and Jaluzine and whatever, and see what it really looks like when it comes to these people getting hurt, what it looks like when these people, the actual people, get to interact with other people. So, and that was the main thing. I remember when yeah, I say that, this is kind of, I'm going to tie it all together. But when I say that is, whenever you have the TikTok ban that happened last year, it was last year, I think. And before that, everybody was leaving TikTok and going to Red Note. And before, a lot of people believe that the Chinese people that hated Americans, their country looks so poor and disgusting. They're eating, cow stomach and dong, and they eat out all this stuff, right? But then whenever you actually interacted with them through their app, you see a lot of them very, very friendly and welcoming. You get to see what their country really looks like, and a lot of their major cities looks like 10 or 20 years ahead of ours. And their cars look nicer than ours and they're cheaper. Even like the most average lower middle class person has a nicer house or quarters living than a middle class person. Then you're kind of looking like, man, we've been really lied to a lot. No country is perfect, but at least their people don't look like they're starving compared to over here. Because if you go to any hood in America, any trailer park in America, there's any rural place, you'll see stuff that will look a lot worse than any other place in the world. And that's why I mean we're spending too much money on wars instead of taking care of our own people. And then even when you go to like streamers, like these live streamers now, like I Show Speed, when he goes international and look at all these countries, yes, does he come across people who are bigoted and potentially racist? Absolutely. But does he also come across people that show him a lot of love and help help him help him help him show what the different countries look like and how we're not that different? Yeah. So it's it sucks. It really sucks. It really sucks that we are controlled by old men who don't want to let go of power and money, and we're just going to suffer the price for it. I think that's something that we should all be okay with saying is we should not be involved in anything doing with Israel and whatever conflicts they have. Israel has not contributed anything to the United States. Anytime I hear anything about Israel, they're passing more and more laws to protect them, to speaking out against them, and we're just sending them money. It's always one of those two things, right? Oh, Zionists, anti-Semitic, all this other kind of stuff. You get all these special rules and laws and all this other kind of stuff and protections, and then on top of that, we're sending you money nonstop. For the longest time, that between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I lost count how much money we sent to Israel. Ukraine too, but not so much as Ukraine, because I could give Trump credit for that one. He did stop the money going to Ukraine, but at the exact same time, the money didn't stop going to Israel. And I'm just not a fan of American lives being lost. I'm a very much big fan of America first. Take care of America first. Take care of our take care of our people. We still have cities that has lead rotting pipes. We have veterans that are homeless and it's looking kind of crazy out there. I work with and around a lot of veterans, and it's kind of sad when you see a veteran, not the ones that found a way to manipulate and use the system. I'm talking about the ones that actually served and got hurt or that's mentally damaged, and this got tossed to the side. And that's the thing I know is that veterans, when they're not mentally incapacitated, they can live a very well life. I seen them make a lot of money between the SSI checks and the VA benefit checks and all this other kind of stuff and disability checks. A veteran in the right mind can make a lot of money, but it's the ones that suffered the most when they actually went and served the country, and those are the ones that are tossed to the side. I just look at that sometimes. I'm just like, man, just because you're a veteran doesn't mean you're an honorable, good person. However, though, if you have taken some type of damage in service of our country, I think you definitely deserve to be taken care of by our country. And I don't think that's too far of a stretch to think that way, especially if we can send money to other countries that look better than us. Look at Israel before that the bombing happened. It is a gorgeous ass country. And America could look even better. We had a landscape for it. We clearly had the money and resources for it. We're being overtaxed on every single thing out there. So what's the holdup? It doesn't make any sense. And again, it kind of hits harder home when you have a kid that could potentially be drafted into a war. Um, because that draft age is 18 to 26. That's Gen Z all day. So essentially, what they're doing is they're just gonna send Gen Z to slaughter, and it's literally gonna be slaughter because I hate to say it this way, Gen Z has been prone to be a lot more softer compared to millennials or Gen X. Gen X is too old, millennials are aging out, and that leaves Gen Z. Oh man, I would never understand. Like it doesn't even matter what political party you are at this point. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter if you're red or blue, green, or just independent. I think independents are purple, right? The idea of us going to war for a country that has literally done nothing for us is crazy. It's insane. I believe the best way to help fix America is a few ways, right? And I've been saying this since I was in my 20s. The best way to fix America, okay, put an age limit who could be president. I personally believe if you are above a retirement age, you should not be able to run for president, right? Put term limits on the House and Senate. If the president has a two-term limit, then that same should be done for the House and Senate. There should not be a senator that has been in office for 50 years and then when he gets sick or cannot perform his job anymore, it automatically just goes to his wife. It shouldn't be a person who's in the Senate or the House who is so old they can barely form a sentence, but they still got their seat somehow. If you cannot drive yourself anywhere, if you cannot formulate a sentence or wipe your own ass, you should not be in there making decisions for our country. That's just how I personally feel. And if America is truly the melting pot, like they used to say back in the day, America used to say America was the melting pot, then I think our Senate should reflect that too. So every single majority ethnic group here, which I think the main ones are white, black, Hispanic became a large one recently, and Asians, should be heavily influenced in our Senate and House. That's how you can get America to truly be great, and that's how you can fix things that's going on. Not by keeping people who are obviously corrupted and paid off to send us to our slaughter. I would never be okay with us going anywhere like that. All right. I guess I was just heavy on my mind because whenever Iran put that tweet up saying everyone would feel it, and wars are not fought by actual people in fighter jets anymore, or boots on the ground for the most part. These wars are fought with drones and missiles, and people who are essentially behind a joystick and a computer screen as it's taking out civilians, like it's a military version of GTA. It doesn't make any sense. There's I will tell you this: nobody will care until it directly impacts them. Because right now it's all theory. Right now it's all what ifs. But when that call comes, that's when you're gonna start seeing people cry and care. I was lucky enough that when I was younger, I got to interact and talk to World War II veterans and also Vietnam veterans. And that made me realize I wanted nothing to do with war. And then I had friends that ended up going to the War on Terror. And when they came back, they didn't look the same at all. Like the look in their eyes were gone. It was interesting. I had me and my best friend at the time. We were talking about joining the military together. We was gonna do like the buddy program and do the boot camp. And then my uncle, who is a military veteran, he was actually active at the time. He convinced me not to join. He was like, go to college instead. But I was like, no, I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. I want to outrank you, outrank my dad. I came from a military background, so everybody in my family has been in the military. And I was like, yeah, I want to outrank everybody and all this other kind of stuff. My uncle told me, he was like, look, Anthony, this is not the right time to join because more than likely you'll die. And he was telling me what was going on before it was publicized on the news after the 9/11 attacks. So I was like, okay. So I listened to my uncle. I had a lot of respect for him. So of course I'm going to listen to him. Of course I'm going to listen to the man that's actually out there risking his life. So, yep. And a lot of my friends still went in. I lost a few friends. And the ones that came back, they came back with that stare. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like some type of stare. Like even when they're talking to you, it's still some type of stare. Nobody talks about that though. But yeah. Anyways, though, off that topic. Thank you for the likes. If you have not already, go ahead and subscribe. I just go live sometimes, talk about random things. I've been slacking on posting more videos, but I did say I would do more lives and do more videos that I post normally. Let's see here. So, how do y'all feel about this Diddy trial? I'm just kind of curious about that. I know they're trying to get a mistrial right now. Mistrial because of one of the jurors, surprisingly. The thing about America, they always say America is not a racist country. But, but, um, it is not a racist country. It's a definitely a strong racial preference country. Let me put it that way. And I'm not saying this because of the whole entire, I believe Diddy is innocent, all this other kind of stuff. I definitely believe Diddy did the majority of stuff they are saying, if not more. But whenever you have a juror that has been in the trial, I think the trial's been going on for 3 weeks, going on 4 weeks now. And he's been hearing all the details, the evidence. They want to get him replaced. because the prosecution is not doing the best job, and the prosecution going to do whatever they can to win because it's very well known the FBI has a very strong record of getting convictions. So whenever you have that, and you have somebody like Diddy who has great lawyers, really amazing lawyers, and they're poking holes and putting in that reasonable doubt that's needed to have him have a mistrial potential. I think that's what we're really trying to go for is a mistrial. Because you all you gotta do is convince one or two people. And then one of the jurors that may side with him, because he has a similar background to Diddy, is, a black juror who's from New York or New Jersey. But because they're saying they can't trust where he came from because he gave two different addresses, they're trying to get him dismissed. And that's something they could have done when they first choosing the juries. But somebody that's been there for 4 weeks or 3 weeks, that doesn't make any sense. It's like the prosecution is trying to find a way to save face and make sure they still get that conviction because they don't want egg on their face if they lose or get a mistrial. Oh, man. I am kind of tired. Um, yeah, I was just talking about that. It was kind of like a little weird thing going on there. Oh man, past presidents have been involved in war, right? Like John F. Kennedy involved. Um, Barack Obama, no. What's his name? Joe Biden, no. George W. Bush or George Bush. I can't remember which one of those served in the military. I think it was George W. Bush. Um, I have noticed that a lot of the time the most craziest laws that get passed are to people who did not serve in the military. And I'm not saying you got to be in the military to be the president. I think it helps because you won't be so quick to jump into a conflict that could cost American lives. The good, hi, hope you're doing well, man. I'm just pretty much talking about random stuff. Right now, I'm just kind of frustrated about this whole entire Donald Trump and Israel and Iran thing. Because Iran is not playing any games with Israel. Iran has a lot of allies. And if Trump truly does get us involved with Iran, it, it really will turn into a world war at that point. Because if you think about it, Trump has, because of his actions, these tariffs and deportations, our other two allies, which were historically Canada and Mexico, may not back us anymore. So it truly will be just America, Israel against the world because Ukraine is still fighting their situation with Russia. Britain, I don't know what they're going to do. We left the UN, if I remember correctly. So it's just like, I don't know, man. Let's see. If I try to do the green screen, it doesn't really work out how I want it to. Can I make the background smaller? No, I can't. Yeah, but Bill's pain, everyone will feel it right there. Everyone will feel it. I'm just saying, And this whole entire Iranian military thing, they've been posting nonstop. And I'm just like, okay. Like they are seriously not playing or backing down. They are not scared. They are not scared in any way, shape, or form. And do I think if you are attacked, you have a right to go ahead and fight back? Absolutely, 100%. Because the way that Israel took out Palestine was too far. And the reason I say that because this whole entire Iran thing shows that Israel had the capability of doing um, strategic strikes, so it wouldn't impact a bunch of civilians. But instead, they chose to just demolish all of Palestine, and that's the craziest thing to me. But yeah, if you haven't checked out the Iranian military um, Twitter, you should. The updates they be giving, they're not backing down. And he says it's going to get worse. You know what I wish I want to see? The Israeli people that don't support this. The Israeli people who are upset. Because I cannot believe for 100% certainty that they are all okay with this. Anyways, I am going to go. I am getting tired. I'm not getting too much interaction this time. That's fine. This is more of a serious topic. But I hope you guys have a great day and have a good night.